Hey, what's up guys? Today I have another tutorial for you, and it's an Unreal Engine 5.2 tutorial specifically. In this tutorial we are going to be creating a pause menu in Unreal Engine, and specifically that's going to be a widget that when you hit a key is gonna pop up into the player screen, the game is gonna pause, and then we're gonna have a bunch of different functions from there. Obviously you can customize that as you want, so I'm not going to be going over all the things that you can do, obviously, because they're infinite. But what I am going to be going over is how to exit that widget. That's what we're going to be doing today. Also, as of yesterday, June 14th, 2023, and today it is June 15th, 2023, it's Thursday, I finished 10th grade of school. Why am I saying this to you? The reason is because summer vacation just started, and I'm probably going to be making more videos for astronauts and different genres as well, not only tutorials. But we're gonna look into that in the future. For now, let's focus on the tutorial. This is our 5.2 version of the tutorial. Not much really, but if you want to know what is going on here, just watch my previous tutorials. First of all, you obviously want a user interface, and to get that user interface in content, let's create a new folder and let's name that widgets. Right click under user interface, widget blueprint, and that we're gonna get a user widget. If you remember, we have worked with user widgets again in the past when we created the health bar for our character, but in this tutorial we're going to be creating something completely different. Double click to open that up, and just like we did with the health bar, let's get a canvas panel, drag that into the pause menu right here, and then zoom in. This is basically our screen. Now let's get a border. The border is basically going to be the background of our screen. That's for people who want their widget to have a color, so like that. You get the idea. But if you just want your widget to blur the background and have no custom background, you can just search for background blur and drag that in. Now let's create an anchor. Let's get this anchor, set the offset to 0, 0, and this is going to cover our entire screen. And blur strength, you can see that as we increase this value, the blur strength increases, obviously. But we're not going to be working with a blur, but that's basically what you have to do instead of just getting the border, which we are going to be doing in this tutorial. Okay, so the anchor is exactly the same story. Let's get 0, 0 for the last anchor right here. Now we can change the brush color to whatever we want. I really like blue for widgets, so I'm going to be using this one. Now let's get a text, because you may want something to be written on the screen whenever you pause. Now let's get this anchor, the second anchor, write something like game paused. Game paused. Okay, cool. Let's increase the font of the text 80. Now if we click size to content, you can see that, yeah, we're a little bit off, but that's okay. Now also let's create an outline for our text. Outline settings right here, outline color, yeah, let's set that to black, that's great. And now let's get a nice 4 right here. What I like to do is get the half of the value right here, and the way to do that is go to position X and then set minus, then type in the value divided by 2, and you're good to go. And then we can set a nice 20 for that as well. Now you can see it's roughly in the middle. There may be a smarter, easier way to do this, but I am stupid and I'll do it this way. Now that we have our text right here, this is a text, non-editable text that you can see at any given moment. Now let's create a button to exit this widget. Take this button right here, drag that in. And because I had this problem in a project that I was working with a couple of days ago, if you do not tick is variable right here while having clicked on the button, you are not going to have an events tab under localization here, whereas if you click it, you have an events tab right here. And this is important to have because that's how to get the button functioning as a button and not as a border. Now customize it before we get into any kind of code. I want it to be in the top right, so I'm gonna select the first anchor right here for this one. Now let's set the size to 150 by 60. You can see this is going to be our button. Style, normal, hovered, and press is what we're going to be working with. Now I want this to be around this range. I'm actually gonna make it purple. Purple for this one. Make sure that the V is set to 1, so it is as bright as we can. And now go here to hovered, and hovered is basically you want this to be a little bit darker, and by default this tint, this V is going to be darker than this one, and the pressed is going to be even darker. The way to get the same color though is you click on the normal color and then you select the hue, Ctrl C to copy, then go here, Ctrl V to paste in the hue. Now let's drag that all the way up, and now you can see this one is just a little bit darker than this. The same thing we can do is Ctrl V in this, in the pressed as well, and then drag this one up as well. As I have already said, this value is going to be a little bit less, so it's going to be a little bit darker than the previous one, so we don't have to change anything else. Now I usually like to create some kind of outline for this as well. I am going to make the outline black. Now increase the size of the outline using the width method. Let's set some kind of 4. Generally 4 is a good outline value for this size of widgets and buttons and everything. Let's get the same outline for the hover. Black 4, we're good with that. Pressed as well, black 4, we're done. So you maybe want this to be a little bit more rounded. In this case you have to click on the button obviously, and then go to normal, outline settings, then corner radius. I like setting that to 15 for all of those. Do it for the hovered and pressed as well. Okay, perfect, but you want your user to know what this button actually does. So let's get another text and let's drag that into the button this time. You can see that the text is parented to the button, so as long as we move the button, the text is gonna move with that. Make horizontal alignment into the center, justification into the center as well. Now the text can be, I usually set that to be back, but since this is our first widget, let's make it exit. Repeat the process that we did with the game pause. Let's create an outline. The outline color can be that, because this text is smaller. Let's go around the 3. Just for me, I'm gonna do a multiplication by 1.3 for both of those, so that the button is actually a little bit larger, so that it's more clickable. Make the text a little bit bigger. But obviously games are going to be just moving graphics without sound effects. So how do we add a sound effect whenever the player hovers their cursor over the button or even clicks the button? You can do that using code, but Unreal Engine has provided us with a much easier way, and that is to go down here under appearance and style. You have a pressed sound and a hovered sound, and this is good because whenever you hover your cursor over it, the sound that you have selected is going to be played, and the pressed sound is going to be played when you press the button. Likewise, for another project that I have already sound effects. I'm going to import those really quick as well and show you how to get good sound effects for your games. Okay, I just dragged them in from a file that I had, and this is basically the interface click and interface hover. Whenever you hover, the second sound effect is going to be played, and when you click, the first one is going to be played. And the way to get great sound effects for free or sometimes paid, just head to Mixkit and search for sound effects and search the name of your sound effect. I'm going to be leaving the link to the precise sound effects that I used in this tutorial as well. You can see you have a bunch of different categories and sound effects to choose from, and Mixkit never disappoints. This is not a sponsored video, I just want to tell you where to find those great sound effects. It's not wise to just get those, and what you want is actually something like this, the cue, because it's more useful. Now you could go audio sound cue, but for this I am going to be selecting those two and create not single cue, multiple cues, and this is going to create a cue for each one. Basically what they do is they are a file that you can use to play sound 2D and 3D in your game. Interface click cue into the pressed sound, interface hovered cue into the hovered sound. If we test out the game, we cannot see the widget. How do we get the widget? You can do it both ways, just like you did with the health bar. You can go from the character and do it, or open the level blueprint, and in this case I am going to be using the character because I don't want this to happen only in this level. Just get the P key, and off of press, let's get create widget. Pause menu widget, add to viewport. Whenever you create a new widget, remember to add it to the viewport, otherwise it's not gonna work and you're not gonna know why it's not working. Let's go and test out the game and play, and now if we hit P, you can see the widget is here. Great, it appeared. Thing is, now we have one issue. The mouse cursor is not shown, and the reason for that is because the game cannot know whether you want your mouse cursor to be shown whenever you create the widget. So let's fix that. In the blueprint, the character blueprint, where we set the pause menu, and then add the viewport, let's set show mouse cursor. And you have to untick context sensitive. Now let's click on that, remember to click on that, and now if you compile you're gonna get an error. So get player controller. The index is going to be 0, which is your first player, which is you. Let's go and check it out. Alright, you can see our mouse is here. Now let's check out the sound effects. Okay, you can see everything works like a charm. Except for one thing, the exit button, you want it to exit the widget. Alright, but it's not doing that. Let's click on it, and here is where isVariable ticked comes in. Because if you had not ticked that, boom, you would not get this very pan. This you can see on clicked, on pressed, on released, on hovered, on unhovered. Basically those are events, and when they are triggered, you can get some code to be executed. But now we do not have any code to execute off of those, and if you were not to have isVariable ticked, you would not even have those options either. Off of clicked, let's hit the plus button, and you can see we were taken to the event graph right here. Don't worry, your designer is not lost, just click on designer. Go here, get remove from parent. You can see the target is self, and that's gonna work. That's gonna basically remove this very widget from the screen. Let's see whether that works, and I'm sure that it works. P, you can see sound effects work. We are outside of the widget. The only problem is that your cursor is still able to be shown, and you have to click, right click or mouse wheel click to get the camera to move into the widget, and then we set show mouse, untick that, so by default it's gonna be unticked, get layer controller. Once again, now you can see our mouse is still able to be shown, but for some reason whenever you transit into and out of widgets, you have to click on something to happen. And so yeah, you can see that now our mouse cursor is non-visible and everything works just as it did before. One problem though.
You stupid!
Pay attention to this. Where are we? We are right here. Okay, P, pause. Now I am going to move. Look at this. I am moving. Let's exit the widget. What happened? Why did we move? Because the game is still running in the background. So everything, wink wink, that could happen before we enter the widget is able to be done right there. That includes us moving. Now if you only want the character movement to be stopped, simply when you go into astronaut, you can go here, you can disable movement, and that is going to be character movement. So now that what that does is our character is going to stop moving. And now whenever we obviously want the character to move whenever we close the widget. In the widget blueprint, untick context sensitive and then set movement mode under the character movement. Get the character movement. If you do not do that, you're gonna have an error. And if you do that, you're gonna have an error as well. We'll fix that off of event construct, cast to the layer, cast to astronaut, and an object get player pawn. Promote a variable naming that character reference. Get the character reference, drag that into here in the target, and then you're gonna be fine with that. Remember to do walking for here as well. Let's P and then move and then exit. You can see we could not move. But remember that through this method, only you cannot move. And there are a couple of different ways to do that, but I'm not going to be going over all of those. Now let me show you a more common way to do things, and that is to stop the entire game. So let's delete this code. This is very much simpler. You don't even need to cast anything. Pause game. Set game pause. Then off of here, set game pause. False. Now you can see we are here. Let's pause. Now I am moving. You can see nothing happened because the game was paused. We did not move. So that's another way to do it. But the difference between those two ways is that with the first one, again, only you cannot move, and the second one makes the entire game pause. And that's basically how to create a pause menu widget. Now you can obviously decide to do more things with it because this is pretty blank. But we're gonna be going over more things like that in the future, so you don't need to worry about that. Go celebrate because you created a very new widget. So see you in the next video.
That's the stuff. I should watch more videos.